Hey everybody, welcome to the Columbus Wired post-game wrap-up. I'm Andy Evans. Thanks for coming along for the ride, and if you are staying up late enough to watch this, I give you all the credit in the world because I am ready to get on out of here and call it a night. However, before we do, we are here in the Horseshoe, and aside from that plane that just decided to fly over right as I'm starting off the post-game wrap-up, the dust has settled here in Ohio Stadium after an insane day. A lot to unpack in this one as the third-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes stay undefeated by defeating the visiting Toledo Rockets by a final score of 77-21. Once again, a lot to unpack in this game. So where do we start? Well, first off, 77-21, 77 points. That is the fifth most in a single game in Ohio State history. 763 total yards rolled up by the Buckeyes tonight, 482 through the air, 281 on the ground, 36 first downs, and 11 of 13 on third down. 763 total yards. Sounds like a lot. That's because it is. That is now the second most in a single game in Ohio State history. 482 passing yards. That's the third most in school history. And those 36 first downs are now tied for fifth all-time in school history, all happening right here in the Horseshoe tonight. C.J. Stroud, what can you say about the Heisman hopeful? Just had himself another 300-some yard game. You know, it's just old hat right now for the third-year sophomore out of Rancho Cucamonga, California, if I could say it right. Boy, it's late, and my brain is a little fried. 22 of 27, though, on the night, 367 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, did not take a single sack. And handing the ball off tonight, of those 281 rushing yards, Mayan Williams, 10 carries, 77 yards, did not play in the second half. That was not because of injury or anything like that. Just Ryan Day said afterwards, hey, we knew that we had things in hand. Let's get a young guy like Daquan Finn, who ended up leading the team with 17 carries for 108 yards, 1 touchdown, and amazingly, he is the first Buckeye this season to rush for over 100 yards. Yeah, Travion Henderson didn't do it. Mayan Williams didn't do it in a single game. It was the true freshman Daquan Finn out of Memphis, Tennessee that ends up running for over 100 yards. Henderson, speaking of, 4 carries, 19 yards, had a touchdown. That was on the first drive of the game. Then he came out. People were kind of wondering what was going on. Well, we saw him from up in the press box as he was leaving the field at the end of the first half, noticeably limping. Heard some scuttlebutt later that supposedly he was seen in a walking boot. Now, Ryan Day would not stipulate as to the injury. He just hands off. We don't know what's going on. We're going to have to, check on him and see. So hopefully come early next week, Tuesday, maybe Thursday, we're going to find out a little bit more and see how serious Travion Henderson's injury is, because of course they got the Badgers coming up and they could really use him in that football game. But how about, it doesn't stop there when it comes to the rushing game, because walk-on T.C. Caffey, true freshman walk-on T.C. Caffey from Hubbard, Ohio, up north about an hour or so of Columbus, probably more like about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours north of the great city of Columbus here. 6 carries, 57 yards, and he also had a 49-yard touchdown run. If you can kind of see up the right side here, juking, busting tackles. That's all Hubbard produces, is just those kinds of running backs. So hats off to the true freshman walk-on T.C. Caffey. Let's hope that is not the last rushing touchdown that we see out of that young man. Through the air, can't forget about our boys, Emeka Egbuka, Marvin Harrison, Julian Fleming, Cade Stover, Jackson Smith-Njigba. We'll get to him here in a second, but and Jaden Ballard. from about an hour north. Mansfield, one of Mansfield's finest. 3 receivers tonight, over 100 yards, led by Emeka Egbuka. 7 catches for 116, had that touchdown catch. Harrison with 6 catches, 102 yards, 2 touchdown grabs. And Jaden Ballard, 4 catches, 113 yards, including that 72-yard touchdown catch that he caught. Actually, offensive coordinator Kevin Wilson said it was not a busted play, but it was meant to go out into the flat to G. Scott, and instead the Toledo defense busted the coverage, and Kyle McCord found Jaden Ballard wide open, caught the ball, boom, up the left sideline. He went untouched for that 72-yarder. Kyle McCord, 5 of 7 on the night, 115 yards, and that 72-yard toss to Jaden Ballard. So overall, a great night through the air for both quarterbacks and receivers. Can't forget about Cade Stover, 3 catches, 83 yards. Should have had one right here in the back of this end zone. And C.J. Stroud just overthrew him. And in fact, C.J. said later during his post-game press conference that he felt really bad, and he was just so excited because he saw Cade open and couldn't believe he was that wide open, and just a little bit of too much mustard on that one, and went right over Cade Stover's head. But still a solid game from the starting tight end. Like I said, 3 catches, 83 yards. And then Julian Fleming, also 3 catches in the game. Only had 23 yards receiving, but of those 3 catches, 2 were touchdowns in his first game here of the season. So great to see Julian Fleming. Emeka Egbuka said, man, he was just so excited that Julian was finally able to get back in and play, and the fact that he had 2 touchdown catches was just amazing to see, and especially for a kid was so highly recruited out of high school, and everybody has been expecting great things. In fact, he was the highest rated wide receiver ever in Ohio State history, and he's been so dinged up here the last couple of seasons. Hopefully now we finally get to see what Julian Fleming can do, and today I think was a great start for him. Jackson Smith-Njigba, 2 catches, 33 yards, had a couple of great catches, held out really after about midway through the second quarter. And once again, not anything like injury-wise, but Ryan Day just said, kind of more of a precautionary measure. Just want to make sure that they get the healthiest Jackson Smith-Njigba they can get, especially when they welcome in the Badgers here next weekend. Talked a little bit, though, in the pregame about Daquan Finn, Rockets quarterback. We knew this guy was mobile. We knew this guy could potentially cause some problems for the Ohio State defense. And for a while there, he did. In fact, things got a little hairy there in the first half as well as the start of the second half. 3 runs for over 15 yards for Daquan Finn in the first half, including 2 23-yard runs on the same drive, one of which was on 3rd and 12, the other a scramble right up here into the right corner of the end zone for a 23-yard score. And, excuse me, that was the Rockets' second touchdown of the game. The first touchdown, though, 50-yard bomb right up here. Whoop! Daquan Finn, man, I tell you what, he was scrambling. He was doing some juking and jiving himself. Scrambles out of the pocket, finds receiver Thomas Zeros up the right side. Zeros caught the ball, went into the end zone after busting, I believe it was Denzel Burke's coverage for a 50-yard score. And that was answering Ohio State's game-opening score, and it was a 7-7 ball game at that point. However, that was the only touchdown, that was the only catch that Thomas Zeros had. That was it, that 50-yard touchdown catch. After that, he was done for the night. No more catches for Thomas Zeros. Early second half with his team trailing 49-14 and starting off the second half with an interception. Daquan Finn kind of rectified himself. Once again, had a great scramble out of the pocket, and he hit Jerwan Newton for a 40-yard touchdown as Newton caught the ball right down there at the end, or right in front of the end zone, and spun out of a tackle by Denzel Burke. And Jawan Newton scored their third and final touchdown of the game. That would come early second half with about 10.5 minutes to go. And after that, the Rockets were done putting any sort of points on the scoreboard. So Daquan Finn finished 10 of 19, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, had that early second half pick, also led the team in yards with 70 on 7 carries in that 23-yard touchdown run in the first half. Defensively, Buckeyes played a solid game. Other than that, there were some plays. Ryan Day said, yeah, need to work on some containment issues, especially when it comes to a mobile quarterback. They kind of learned some things tonight about that. But otherwise, he said that they played a pretty solid game defensively. So holding the Rockets to 4 of 13 on third down, caused 2 turnovers, which, yeah, folks, the Buckeyes finally did it. They caused 2 turnovers, the first 2 turnovers of the season on that Ronnie Hickman interception early in the second half, as well as recovering a fumble in the fourth quarter. Lathan Ransom leading the way, 6 tackles. How about Jack Sawyer? Kind of been MIA a little bit. However, 5 tackles, 2 for loss tonight. And that guy, he gets in the backfield. And there are so many plays where he just causes disruptions. And so you look at the final stat sheet and you go, where's Jack Sawyer? Well, not only did he show up on the stat sheet tonight, he's really been showing up every game and causing a lot of havoc where he's putting pressure on the edge to get the quarterback up the middle so guys like Lathan Ransom can come up, or Steele Chambers or Tommy Eichenberg, and make a stick for the tackle, which both Chambers and Eichenberg tonight also with 5 tackles. So a great game defensively from them. 3 sacks, 9 tackles for loss in all for this defense, and was just a really great showing for the Ohio State defense. Couple more things here, and then I'm going to get out of your hair. How about these true freshmen that played tonight? This was the game I think we were all waiting for, to finally see some young Buckeyes get in and get some meaningful minutes. Not just mop-up duty, which some of these guys were mop-up duty near the end of the game, but obviously a guy like Daquan Finn, who they had to rely on because Henderson was out way early after the first drive of the game, and they really didn't, they didn't want to exhaust Mayan Williams and possibly get him injured for next week's game against Wisconsin. So they really leaned heavily on Daquan Finn. And then, of course, the true freshman T.C. Caffey, who busted out. But also, by my count now, there could have been more true freshmen than this that played, but these are just some of the guys that I saw there throughout the fourth quarter. Quarterback Devin Brown out of Arizona, the highly recruited true freshman out of Arizona. Didn't have any stats because all he did was hand off the ball. Didn't make any throws or anything like that. But still, good to see him in and at least have an actual game on this field as a true freshman. That's got to be a pretty cool thing for somebody like that. Defensive end Kaden Curry, old hat for him by now. I think this was like his 3rd game of the season, and I think he had like 3 tackles in the game, or I believe he had 2 actually for Kaden Curry. Also, wide receiver Kyon Graves got into the game, actually had a catch for 2 yards. And there was defensive end Kenyatta Jackson, who had 1 tackle, but he made it count for a loss. And then you had safeties Kai Stokes and Sonny Styles. Sonny Styles, of course, from Pickerington Central, a guy that a lot of Central Ohio folks have got their eye on. They are excited about this dude, looking forward to seeing him in a scarlet and gray jersey, considering that he should still be in a purple and black jersey or a purple and white jersey. Excuse me, purple and black, that's Pickerington North. Didn't mean to offend you Central Tigers. A purple and white jersey playing for Pickerington Central this year. He should still be in his senior year, and instead he graduated an entire year early. He's here. He got on the field, not just special teams, and he had 3 tackles in the game, including a stick, and I mean a stick over here where he just absolutely walloped a Toledo running back. I think the kid still gained like 6 yards, but oh my goodness, you could probably, you heard that hit from up in the press box, folks. I'm telling you. Sonny Styles, welcome to wearing a scarlet and gray uniform, man. Whew, boy. And Kai Stokes, he had a wallop too, where he hit a Toledo running back up the middle, stuck him hard. And so Kai Stokes, Sonny Styles. When it comes to safeties, as long as Jim Knowles is still running a safeties-oriented defense here at Ohio State for the next several years, it's going to be fun to watch guys like Sonny Styles and Kai Stokes play some football in the scarlet and gray. So, and one more thing, Dallas Gant. Talked about him. He had come back home, if you will, a place where he spent the last 4 seasons. Went back home to Toledo, where he's originally from. Entered the transfer portal midway through the season last year. I talked about this during the pregame preview, reiterating it now, just for the simple fact that Dallas Gant, now starting for the Rockets, had 5 tackles on the night, which was good, tied for 4th. So, welcome back, Dallas. Unfortunately, your boys lost to your former boys, once again by a score of 77-21. So there you have it. That is the Columbus Wired post-game wrap-up. I'm Andy Evans. I appreciate everybody checking that out. And yes, I had a light ring going on. It was nice and lit, and then I think it died because my laptop just died. So that's hence why it got kind of dark here, and I'm relying on the very few lights of the stadium that they have left on. And why? It's because it's about 12:15 in the morning right now, and I'm tired, and I want to go to bed. Otherwise, hey, thanks again for checking me out. Thanks for coming along for the ride. Going to talk to you guys next week right here in the Horseshoe. Actually, at first I'm going to talk to you outside of the Horseshoe when the 3rd-ranked Buckeyes take on the Wisconsin Badgers. Another night game, though. So hopefully I'm going to be a little more prepared and this kind of stuff doesn't happen again when I do a recap after hopefully another big Buckeye win. Everybody take care. Talk to you on down the road.